The movie begins in a small town called Plymouth, Massachusetts, in the home of Mitch Collins and Amanda, his wife. The smell of roasting turkey fills the air on this Thanksgiving evening as Sheriff Eric Newlawn arrives at their home. He brings a little cake as a gift that, apparently, he himself baked. Amanda praises him and says that with his cooking skills, he would soon no longer be single. It's all festive and celebratory as everyone's seated at the dinner table chatting. Everyone seems to be cheerful and in the holiday spirit. On the other side of town, we see the Wright household, who is also getting ready for the Thanksgiving feast. There at the dinner table, we see Jessica, who is the daughter of Thomas Wright, the owner of Wright Mart stores. We also see Thomas's soon-to-be wife Kathleen, whom Jessica despises. Jessica is friendly, kind, and probably the odd one out in her friend group. She does not dress as one would expect her to, being a rich man's daughter. Kathleen seems displeased with Jessica's outfit and tells her that she could have done better, but Jessica responds by saying that she likes to keep it simple. Back in Colin's household, Mitch gets ready to go to work. It turns out that the usual holiday has been cut short, and he received a stern warning from Thomas that lest he wants to get fired, he should report for the job. Mitch leaves, but not before he dissects the turkey. He arrives soon after, and a great number of people are gathered outside the local Wright Mart superstore, anticipating the commencement of the Black Friday sale. Mitch sees the humongous crowd that is ready to burst at any moment and is annoyed. Back in her house, Jessica looks at Kathleen with disdain. For her, her father's newfound girlfriend would never replace her late mother. As she is looking at the bracelet that has her late mother's picture, Bobby, her boyfriend, jolts her out of her reverie. He tries to lift her spirit by saying that since her father's engagement happened quite quickly, the divorce would too. Jessica smiles and prays that it happens soon. Soon, their friends arrive outside. Since she is eager to leave with her boyfriend and meet up with her friends, she quickly says her goodbye and prepares to leave. Before they go, Jessica's dad makes sure to ask Bobby, who is a baseball player, to tell him about a certain match that he played the next time he comes over. Bobby promises to do so, and the couple then go to their friend's waiting car. There, they meet their friends Gaby, Evan, Scuba, and Yulia, whom Scuba invited. They have planned to watch a movie and are currently en route. Before they go, they talk about a fight that was initiated by Evans with their rival school students. Evan is the rather immature one in the group. He makes silly decisions and acts irrationally. They insult and make fun of Hanover, their rival school, before driving off. It is revealed that Evan and Gaby are in a relationship, while Scuba and Yulia have just started dating. After a while, they get stuck in traffic because of the huge number of people who have come for the Black Friday sales. Suddenly, Evan announces that he needs to make a purchase and get a new phone, so they all decide to make a pit stop at Wright Mart. While Bobby is busy taking pictures with his fans, Jessica meets one of acquaintances named Ryan who seems to have a crush on her. He walks her a little distance amidst the crowd before her boyfriend comes back and steers him away. There is a mob of customers outside the store, but Jessica uses her privileges to access the store through a side door, and she and her friends get into the store before it opens. In the meantime, Sheriff Eric and Amanda also arrive at the thriving store. She has come to bring food for her husband, so that he may not go empty stomach on a Thanksgiving night. While in the store, Evan and the gang jeer the crowd with the items they're purchasing, the items being an iPhone and a microwave oven. This causes an uproar amongst the crowd of customers outside the store. A guy named Lonnie instigates a riot and demands to be granted access to the store, as they can see Jessica and her friends in it. The situation worsens, and the mob of customers gets more and more aggravated. They press against the glass doors which had already been cracking, and a great swarm of customers bursts in. This stampede leads to a gruesome tragedy, gory and disheartening in nature as lives are lost. Doug, a security guard, is stomped on to oblivion. A broken glass attached to the door sill fatally injures the neck of a customer. And sadly Bobby, who is trying to be helpful, gets his wrist broken when someone tramples on it. It is just terrible for him, given that he had a promising career as a baseball pitcher. On the other hand, Amanda, who had come to make a delivery to Mitch, is knocked down by a grocery cart and has her head slammed, which unfortunately scalps her. Mitch discovers his wife's body. The man is utterly disheartened and is in grief because of her gruesome demise. Witnessing this pandemonium, Sheriff Eric Newlawn panics and is left with no other choice than to use his firearm. He shoots into the ceiling, and as the gunshot echoes, there is a sudden sense of calm. With this, the scene cuts out. A year passes after the tragic event that had occurred. The town does not disregard the incident, and there are tons of articles and lawsuits due to the gruesome event. However, there is no visible footage of the incident, except for the video made by Evan. a friend to Mr. Wright's daughter Jessica. This video circulates and keeps circulating for a whole year, despite some finding the video triggering and unsettling. On the other hand, Wright Mart seems to have moved on and is ready to kick off another Black Friday sale. But an upset Mitch, still hurt by his wife's passing, isn't happy about it. He has since quit his job, but makes sure to partake in protests. He asks why no arrests were made after the gruesome stampede that claimed lives. Other residents ask this question from the authorities as well. He tells a reporter that the night he arrived, the CCTV cameras were working perfectly, yet after the incident, they lied about them supposedly not functioning. How convenient. Due to this lie, no serious action could be taken. Moreover, after his injury, Bobby lost his career and has been missing in action ever since. On the other hand, after the incident, Mr. Thomas Wright devoted himself to giving back to the community. He makes sure to donate to public institutions in the town and starts a foundation, which aims to give money to kids who want to go to college. The scene then shifts to a diner where we see Sheriff Eric engaging in conversation with a waitress named Lizzie. She seems to be one of the people who was involved in the incident a year back and who stole from the mart. Moments later, the new deputy arrives and Lizzie hands him a John Carver mask. John Carver happens to be the first mayor of New Plymouth. Since he is very popular here, a lot of people would be wearing this mask. The scene then shifts to a park where children are enjoying an outing. There, we see Evan, who is busy playing in the dark with an axe. Soon the girls also arrive there. They are discussing a mysterious Instagram user who keeps tagging them in the video of the incident. Despite reporting the video several times, someone keeps on uploading it and re-tagging them. Evan sees them and comes over to say hi, but the girls look rather stiff. They show him the video, and he storms off. Evan does not seem to understand why everyone is so bothered about him posting the video online, and why his friends are upset with him. He feels no remorse that he indirectly was responsible and caused the demise of 3 different people. Jessica then meets Sheriff Eric and her stepmother Kathleen. She is both surprised and annoyed to know that she too would be taking part in the commercial. The commercial for Right Merit would take place in John Carver House, but as soon as they arrive, they find that someone has secretly vandalized the house, and the axe that they were supposed to use is also gone. Jessica is quite relieved to see this though. When her father inquires, she begins listing her woes, but as she sees her stepmom coming in, she gets up and storms off. Poor girl can't have a moment of alone time with her father. The scene then shifts to Ryan, who looks extremely happy. It turns out that after last year's incident, Bobby vanished. After he ghosted Jessica, she let Ryan in, and now they are seeing each other. He tells his friend how Bobby vanishing into thin air was the best thing that happened to him. Apparently, Ryan had always had eyes for Jessica, even while she was still with Bobby. On the other side, in a restaurant, we see the group gathered. The group does not exactly approve of Jessica's relationship. They refer to Ryan as an NPC, saying that the guy is harmless, but rather boring. Not happy with their heartless remarks, Jessica says that at least he didn't ghost her like someone they know, referring to Bobby. Just then, they seem to notice someone looking like Bobby, but the man doesn't come to greet them and just disappears. Their attention is quickly grabbed by the notifications they all receive, one by one. Jessica and her friends find themselves tagged in an Instagram post of a table, with their names written around it by someone who goes by the name The John Carver. Seeing that the account has no followers, they assume it to be a fake spam account. Moments later, Ryan arrives, and the group awkwardly greet him. In order to lighten the mood, he shows them tickets for a game that they all were looking forward to. This does the trick, and the boys who were just calling him boring begin to get excited. Jessica finds this moment wholesome and whispers her thanks. As the group is merrily discussing the game, Jessica's eyes wander outside and catch a mysterious man wearing a mask. Disturbed, she quickly averts her gaze. The scene shifts to a mysterious room. There, we see an enigmatic individual watching the footage of the stampede. His gaze fixates on Lizzie, the waitress at the nearby diner. She was the one holding the cart that ran over Amanda at the superstore that night during the riot. Back at the diner, Lizzie prepares to head home. However, just as she nears the door, she's suddenly ambushed by a figure donning a John Carver mask. Lizzie fights back, but her efforts prove futile. The man dips her in the sink filled with water, and then slams her wet skin onto the inside of the freezer door. This causes her skin to stick and brutally tear. As he goes to fetch an axe, she manages to tear herself away and rush to another room. Her hands are too bloodied for her phone to be of use. With limited options, she flees through the back exit, aiming for her car. Unfortunately, the ominous assailant lies in wait. As she approaches her car, a masked man runs her over with her vehicle. She slams in the dumpster, and the cover comes down. causing Lizzie to split in half. After sawing her in half, John Carver later displays the lower part of her split body. He places it right on the superstore's sign, which is visible to everyone. The next day, Eric Newlawn, the town sheriff, arrives at the scene and orders them to cover up the body. Back at school, Evan and his group are once more tagged in a new post. This time, it happens to be Lizzie's mutilated body. Jessica notices their names ominously etched on a table and alerts her father, who remains resolute in proceeding with Black Friday sales despite the threats. Meanwhile, Sheriff Eric initiates an investigation, suspecting a connection to the previous year's Thanksgiving riots at the Right Mart store. Reviewing diner CCTV footage, they're stunned to see the slaughterer masked as John Carver. In the subsequent scene, Sheriff Eric summons the group for questioning, urging Jessica to share any pertinent information she might have, though she remains reticent for the moment. After getting out of the station, she comes face to face with Bobby. Bobby has returned to town to assist his uncle. He confesses that he unfairly blamed Jessica for his arm injury, leading to a year of avoidance, but he now regrets his actions. In the heat of the moment, Jessica ends up telling him a secret. Turns out, Kathleen was responsible for the sudden erasure of the footage. She did it to avoid potential lawsuits. But the backup footage remains in her father's office, which Jessica plans to retrieve. Their conversation is interrupted by Ryan's sudden arrival, who greets Jessica with a kiss on the cheek, sparking a hint of jealousy in Bobby. The latter is then summoned inside the police station, and the couple also leaves. Later that night, we find Manny, a security guard present during the chaotic events, packing for a vacation due to fear of the town's eerie assassinations. Just as he prepares to leave, he discovers that his passport is missing. Frantically looking around the house for his passport, he comes across a John Carver mask on his couch. This prompts him to arm himself with a bat in a futile attempt to confront the slaughterer. Unmoved by Manny's bravado, the assailant dispatches him and subsequently displays Manny's head alongside Lizzie's remains on a dinner table. The following morning, Jessica is alarmed to find that the mysterious slaughterer has posted a photo of his victims on Instagram, prompting her to retrieve the security footage from her father's computer. As she is doing this, Ryan passes by her house and sees Bobby there. After collecting the footage, she is about to leave when she bumps into her father. The man is not worried in the least about the footage, and instead apologizes to his daughter for neglecting her. After that, Bobby and Jessica take the footage to the sheriff. Lizzie is blatantly seen in the footage that Jessica provides to the sheriff, causing them to believe that those involved in the massacre are probably blacklisted by John Carver. They also see Ryan in the footage, meeting with security. It seems he didn't tell anyone that he knew the man. This creates a little suspicion regarding his identity. Back in school, Jessica and her friends begin to point fingers, and they have a list of suspects, each for a different reason. One of the suspects is Mitch, who has yet to recover from his loss, and is in an outright feud with Right Mart and its owner. He's also received no action from the authorities due to a lack of security footage. Another suspect the group has is Ryan, as he was seen in the footage holding a conversation with Doug before the riot began. Jessica's friends are not fans of Ryan, and are quick to assume the worst about the possibility of him being the masked slaughterer, except Yulia, who supports him. Bobby is also a suspect. After the stampede, he just ghosted the group, only to show up now randomly in the heat of the events. Just then, Jessica receives a call from Ryan, but refuses to answer. In the meantime, Ryan is back in Thomas Parade. There, he bumps into Bobby, and the tension among the two is quite visible. Subsequently, the focus then shifts to Lonnie, the instigator of the previous year's stampede, who is now coaching juniors in the gym. Just then, his girlfriend arrives and discreetly calls him away. Later, in a private moment with his girlfriend, Lonnie's life ends abruptly as the slaughterer strikes from behind, while his girlfriend remains unaware. Amy, who is still jumping on the trampoline, has her foot injured due to knives that were secretly placed under the trampoline. This causes her to fall, and the masked slaughterer proceeds to attack her through the trampoline till she passes out. In the next scene, Sheriff Eric learns about the tragedies and warns the teens to be safe. On this particular occasion, Jessica is with a couple, Evan and Gaby, in their high school. The couple goes to fetch their bags while she waits outside for them. In the meantime, Sheriff Eric and his officers are outside of the school's premises. The couple inside are attacked by John Carver, and the scene cuts out. Jessica then gets a message from Gaby, telling her to come to them. However, as she goes, her life is threatened by John Carver as well as he pursues her, but she manages to escape. After the harrowing encounter, Jessica rushes outside where the sheriff and others reassure her. Desperate, she implores Eric to save her friends, but the perpetrator seems to have vanished. Ryan also arrives at the scene, along with Bobby. The two get into a scuffle, and an annoyed Jessica asks them both to leave. Just then, Yulia's father also arrives and forcefully takes her away. Feeling let down by law enforcement, Scuba decides to take matters into his own hands. That night, he accompanies Jessica to a local drug dealer's place to acquire a gun, determined to confront and eliminate the slaughterer. Meanwhile, Yulia's worried father decides to relocate her for safety, stationing a guard outside as they prepare to leave. Despite their precautions, the slaughterer manages to breach the house, silencing both the guard and Yulia's father with uncanny precision. Unaware of the horror unfolding, Yulia is on a video call with her boyfriend Scuba when the slaughterer attacks by injuring her ears and waving mockingly at Scuba through the phone. Filled with dread for Yulia's safety, Scuba and Jessica race to her home, only to arrive too late. Confronting the slaughterer, Scuba realizes his gun's safety is on, rendering him powerless as the slayer throws Yulia onto a buzzsaw, taking her life instantly. With the body count rising, the police devise a risky plan. They decide to use Jessica and her family as bait during the Thanksgiving parade and draw him out. Reluctant at first, Kathleen eventually agrees. Finally, it's the Thanksgiving parade. At the parade, Jessica's family and Scuba are positioned on a truck surrounded by police. They wait, expecting the slayer to appear in his signature John Carver mask. However, they are caught off guard when he emerges as a sinister clown, wreaking havoc by decapitating a turkey mascot and dispersing smoke bombs. Amidst the chaos, the slaughterer infiltrates Jessica's family's car, incapacitating them with tranquilizers before abducting them. After awakening, Kathleen realizes the serial slaughterir's intent as he prepares her like a turkey. Seizing an opportunity, while he's distracted by the oven, she flees the room and attempts to find an escape upstairs. There, she finds Amy stuck in a plastic bag in the fridge. Desperate, Amy pleads for help, but Kathleen cannot risk freeing her from her bag. Doing so would cost her too much time, and the noise from the process could lead John Carver to her. So instead, Kathleen locks Amy back up. Despite her efforts, she's unable to find a way out and resorts to hiding behind a wall as the slaughterer searches for her. Unfortunately for Kathleen, Amy's blood spilt onto Kathleen's feet, making it easier for the Carver to find her. Believing she's evaded him, Kathleen's hopes are dashed when the latter suddenly stabs through the wall with a garden fork, revealing her hiding spot. Eventually, the psycho apprehends her and cruelly throws her into the oven, where she meets a fiery demise. Later, this cruel monster serves Kathleen's roasted corpse at the dinner table, eliciting screams of terror from the captive Jessica, her father, Scuba, Evan, and Gaby, all bound to their chairs. In the meantime, the police also locate their live location and send out a team to rescue them. Back in the slayer's abode, he starts mockingly serving a glass of wine from poor Amy's blood, the parish cheerleader he had taken out gruesomely. This cruel monster then goes live and mercilessly takes out Evan. He makes sure to tell Evan that his previous video inspired him to make such content. Now he would definitely go viral. Despite this gruesome deed done right in front of a camera, the commentators on the live stream seem to be entertained. After this, he attempts to force-feed Thomas a piece of Kathleen's roasted flesh. In the midst of the chaos, Jessica manages to free herself, using a special ring obtained from the dealer, covertly passing it to Scuba, who also breaks free. Together, they launch an attack on the monster, diverting his attention away from the dinner table. Fleeing through tunnels, they reach the infamous John Carver house, where Scuba sustains an injury to his arm, while Jessica escapes through the back door, leaving him behind. As Jessica races through the forest, she encounters Sheriff Eric lying unconscious in the road at the town center. While attempting to assist him, she spots a figure wearing a John Carver mask entering a nearby warehouse, assuming it's the slaughterer. Grabbing the sheriff's gun, she ventures inside, only to discover that the masked figure is Bobby. Before she can react, the sheriff arrives and urges her to leave. Gunshots ring out from within, as Eric reveals he fired at Bobby, who managed to escape. The police arrive, and they inform Jessica that her dad and friends are safe. Then, a very perplexed and overwhelmed Jessica is left alone with the sheriff, Eric Newlon. There, she notices some brambles on his shoes, the same she had noticed in the woods. Suddenly, it dawns on her. The slaughterer is none other than the sheriff himself. Upon being exposed, Eric confesses to his crimes, revealing that it was all to avenge Amanda, who he had been having an affair with. At that time, Amanda was pregnant with his child and was planning to divorce her husband, but it was all cut short due to the incident at Wright Mart. This ignited Eric's desire for revenge against those responsible for her demise. He claims that the massacre that occurred the previous year was a result of the gross negligence of her rich father and also the carelessness of Jessica and her friends. The sheriff also states his plans to frame Bobby and make everyone think he was the one responsible for everything. He says that he had and intended to dress him up as John Carver. But just as he's about to take out Jessica, she stops him. She says that it is not just him who had a big revelation. She tells him that she had been live streaming his confession this whole time. The now agitated sheriff tries to attack Jessica, but Bobby saves her, throwing a hammer through the window which hits Eric. Seeing the sheriff down, the two run for their lives. In an attempt to exit the premises, the two are stalked down by Eric, who is armed with an axe. As they flee, Jessica manages to fill an inflatable turkey with inflammable gas. The two finally approach Bobby's truck and try to exit, but Eric is a step ahead as he has already hooked it to a support beam to prevent them from leaving. However, Jessica is unfazed as she notices the almost inflated turkey and bravely shoots at it. This triggers a massive explosion that fatally propels Eric away. In the aftermath, Bobby is rushed to the hospital, and Jessica reunites with Ryan, Gabby, and Scuba. The authorities, unable to find Eric's remains, assume that he was consumed in the explosion, closing the chapter on the town's terrifying ordeal. However, this isn't convincing enough for Jessica. Later that night, she goes to bed, laying next to Ryan, when she has a disturbing nightmare of John Carver covered in flames and emerging from her closet to attack her.